Welcome to the Players Ball Podcast. I'm your host, Alex the Great. I'm joined by MB. We are the greatest podcast in Stankonia because we're AT aliens and we're making content for AT aliens. So welcome back, all of our viewers. Big subscriber update. 18. We're doing it. It's real, baby. Let's go. You excited about that, MB?
Absolutely, man. 18 to the moon.
18 to the moon, man. We're gonna take off like Bitcoin. Watch. This is not a financial advisement video. Gotta say it. I've seen it too many times, right?
Yeah. We
All
don't
right.
produce financial advice.
It's just entertainment. There we go. We gotta add the entertainment. What if we can say what it's not, but we have to say what it is in order for it to be real?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. I want to kick us off, man. So, I have a third child, right? And he's a particular young chap. He likes Bluey. Have you seen Bluey before?
I have seen bits and pieces, but I've never really watched it.
Oh man. So Bluey is off the chain. Like the character. I'll give it a quick rundown. There's Bluey, Bingo, Mom, and Dad. Bingo's the little sister. Bluey is the oldest child, and she's just, you know, pretty consistently getting into mischief. And her dad is a dad, right? He's always involved in the shenanigans. I see myself in Bluey's dad, right? But it don't seem like Bluey's dad and mom ever work. Because they're cartoon characters, I guess. There was an episode about them teaching kids how to earn money, but they never work. They get into all these hijinks, and it just seems like such a great life. But you can tell that Bluey's mom and dad are prioritizing family, which is dope. And I think that's an image that should be pushed out more into the world. So I'm watching Bluey, and then I get I have my alerts going on for ESPN, and and the alert comes up, and it's like Anthony Rendon hates baseball. I'm like, what? He's pretty good at it. Why would he hate it? So I'm gonna read you his quote for why they they are slaying this man online. He said, "Baseball. This has never been my top priority. This is a job. I do this to make a living. My faith and my family come first before this job. So if those things come before it, I'll move on." Right? Fans are in an uproar. And maybe that's not a comment that he should have made so publicly, but I don't was they preferred him to lie. I don't understand when the so going from Bluey, where family is the priority, to a professional baseball player also saying family and his faith are a priority, and now the world is in an uproar, specifically Angels fans. I think there's a real disconnect between athletes and real life. I wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it reminds me of some comments that I've heard the Joker say, Nikola Djokovic, where he talks about, he's
Big
the
yoke.
yeah, I mean, he's the pinnacle of the center position in basketball. He's one of the top players in the NBA, multiple MVPs, NBA champion. And when he refers to the game, he talks about it as a job, right? Like
Hmm.
it's work. He's there to make a living. And I think that as fans, it's easy for us to have a certain perspective because the amount of money that these guys are getting paid to play these games, right? And to us, they're games, it's entertainment, but it's still a job. It's still work. It's still, you got to show up with your lunch pail, do your business, or you'll be in and out of the league real quick. So I don't
Yeah.
think it's that out of touch for Anthony Rendon to talk about it as, you or I would our 9 to 5. And being men of faith, I think it's also very important to know your priorities, and where we put our identity is not in what we do, right? It is not in our job. And the minute you start putting your identity in that, you lose sight of what's really important. which is family and faith. So I commend him. I think what he said was right on. I think maybe that fan base didn't like what they heard because of maybe where they are in terms of win losses and losing Shohei Ohtani. I mean, I'd be
Losing Shohei probably hurt. Yeah.
I'd be pretty bitter too. Um, but I can't blame the guy. I think what he's saying is spot on. I did see the interview, and he was kind of brash to the person who was interviewing him because he
Mm.
asked the same question multiple times, and Anthony was like, "I've already answered this. I'm not going there any further, right?" And so I do think like he was a little confrontational in the way he delivered his message, but I don't think the message was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't justify it, but obviously people get frustrated with a certain level of why are you pushing on me? I've given you an answer. Um, there is an aspect of the media where I think that's intentionally done, right? To get the clickbait, to get the higher views. Because once you do that, now you can say Anthony Rendon hates baseball.
Yeah.
Who that man?
So that gets into a topic that I want to discuss, and it starts to hit home with the Braves and some of the recent headlines, and I get really frustrated as a fan with seeing these article headings and some of the comments, just really manufacturing controversy, right? And in this case, I'm referring to when Ronald Acuna showed up at spring training. He was asked some questions, and he responded that he wanted to be a Brave for life, and that the sooner they could make that happen, the better. I think he was very innocent in his comments. I think he's very happy. If he wasn't happy, he wouldn't want to be a Brave for life, right? But the
100%.
headlines you see are Ronald Acuna wants new contract with the Braves. And since day one, since the day he signed that 10-year, $100 million contract, people have been hating on the Braves organization, saying that they underpaid him and they're taking advantage of all these guys who, they are willing participants when they sign these contracts, when they're 20 years old, getting guaranteed $100 million no matter what happens. They blow out their knee the next day. Like they're set up for life. It's really
Yeah.
a high risk with potential high payoff for the organization because they have that long term control, but it is high risk because they are shelling out a lot of money to a player who is in the very early stages that shows like they could be a superstar, but anything could happen tomorrow and that could all go down, the drain. So I think it's frustrating that the media gets away with it. And I realize that, traditional media outlets, newspapers, they're pretty much non existent at this point. Magazines, it's all gone to web based content. And in order to maintain, they need clicks. Um,
Hmm.
I saw something really interesting recently, though, from um, the late kick with Josh Pat. He's actually a Georgia native from Columbus. He runs probably the most well known um, college football uh, news outlet, sponsored by CBS, funded I think by
Oh wow.
CBS. Yeah, so he's national known, but he was talking about kind of being on the beginning edge of YouTube and wanting to make content, for online versus the traditional TV route. And he said, in the early stages, that clickbait was big game because the advertisers would look and see, okay, you got 100 clicks. Well, nowadays that game doesn't necessarily work because advertisers are more concerned with retention. So you have to not only get the
Mm,
click, but you have to convert that click into a listening audience, or
right.
convert that click into generate another click for like an affiliate. So it's not just about the clickbait, which you still see plenty of it. And in this case, I think it was targeted at our home team and at Ronnie, and it's just frustrating to me.
But even the locals, the non-AT aliens, but the locals, right? They dove into that same boat. They've been discussing it. Um, it's definitely adjacent to what I was first talking about, but I have a slightly different opinion on that, just because it's money, so it's like he's negotiating a raise publicly. Um, we've seen it in Julio Jones. I'm not transitioning to the Falcons, but someone requesting more money mid contract. When you do bend to that, and that's not what he's doing, but if what the media is pushing does come to fruition, it does set a precedent for people who have been successful in the organization, right? Now, anyone who's had, and he had an incredible season, one of the best offensive seasons, that's ever been had. Anyone who has a high caliber production season now can say, no, I know I signed a deal for 8 years and it's the second one left, but you see what I did last year? I want more money now. And I just think that's a dangerous precedent. If anyone's going to get it, I give it to Ronald for sure, right? What he did. But I also, from a business standpoint, you agree to what you agree to. Now, I don't want to lose him. But that circles back to your original point, which was they're fabricating something. He didn't say that he wanted to leave. He said he wanted to be a Brave for life. So
He didn't say he
this
wanted more
is,
money.
yeah, yeah. I want to be a Brave for life, and I like for that extension to happen. Right? Yeah, he didn't even mention money. The other thing, and I agree with everything you said about the new media. How you got to convert clicks to views or clicks to third party clicks. And the other thing to consider is that football is done. Right now, when you're talking about football, there's a large portion of America that will listen. Um, Once football's gone, man, it's a lot of people just kind of go into a sports depression. Like, there's nothing for me to do. Like, no, there's other stuff to focus on. Um, but that is the reality of the annual cycle of sports, right? Once the Super Bowl is over, you gotta keep people listening with something. So maybe that's what this was all about. More incentivized it than normal, was that they needed to bring people in and start focusing on baseball, because if they lose them, who knows? They might pick up a healthy habit like exercising or hanging out with their family, focusing on faith. Can't have them doing that. So you got to bring them back in, man. Keep that leash short.
Yeah, I mean, I can buy some of that for sure. Football news cycle typically rules. I mean, it's a 365 with the NFL. You know,
Hmm.
the official new year doesn't start till March 13th, and every time you turn around, there's mock this, trade ideas that, um,
Hmm.
combines coming up. Like, it's just a constant, year round money market. So I do buy some of that, but I do think that there's just like a general negative posture towards the Braves and what they've done with their young talent and how they've locked them up and how
Yeah.
they've, not gone out and spent $1 billion like, the Dodgers. Um, so like I do think there's like just a general distaste for a lot of people for how they've done business, and then they want to push that narrative because they want to generate that controversy. They want Ronnie to be upset and demanding
Yeah.
new contracts. And honestly, I think that played a role into the Julio situation. Was the people around him saying, look, you're the number one wide receiver in the league. You should be paid as the number one wide receiver in the league. And we all know when it comes to contracts, when you sign your deal, it won't take long. Like, you may set the market, but it won't take long for someone else to reset the market.
Hmm.
So even if you're the number one wide receiver and you sign that contract, or you're the MLB MVP and you sign that deal, 2 years later, that deal is not going to be the highest paid at the position in the league. So it's just the nature of the business, and you got to accept that. Now,
Yeah,
Do I
yeah.
do I think it's okay for Ronnie to come out publicly when asked, when not, he didn't just willingly offer this, unprompted. He was asked a
Hmm.
specific question, and his response was, I love the Braves organization. I want to be a Brave for life. If we can make that happen sooner, the better. And that's not him saying, I want a new contract right now. That's saying, I love it here and I can't wait for that, opportunity. I hope that opportunity presents itself. Now, do they
Yeah.
renegotiate a new contract in a couple years before his deal's up? Maybe. But, until he's like, openly disgruntled, you know, it's all media manufactured controversy. And it's just frustrating because I want good news, like I want to hear, things that are more about what they're doing to improve how they feel going into the season, what they've been working
Hmm.
on, just expectation. I want real news. I don't want, clickbaity uh articles that just try to stir up, you know, trouble. And then
Because a
have
lot of times it works,
and
right? Spin is real.
it,
The media can put a spin on something, and then boom, now he does have that idea. Like I do need more money. They're right, because now they're not just spinning it; they're also putting out the numbers of what everyone else is making. So if he reads any of those articles, it's like, oh, dang, I am severely underpaid, right? When that was not the intent that he was trying to deliver. That's definitely their
yeah.
intention.
And it could be
Stir up mess.
subliminal messaging, like just straight up brainwashing propaganda type tactics.
If you do have some level of facts, um, I won't say it's brainwashing, right? He is severely underpaid, but he signed a contract. I do think they get the deal. He's not gonna at the level that he's playing. He's not gonna make it through this contract. Was it 100 years, $10 million, or 100 million over 10 years, or something crazy?
100 years, he would be a Brave for life.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I believe it was 10 years, $100 million. It might have been 8. He's only 2 years into that deal.
8. I think it was 8, because it was more than 10 a year. And I
Yeah.
know Ozzy is another person who was we had a very very team friendly deal.
All of them. Matt
Um,
Olson, uh, Austin Riley, Michael Harris. I mean, they've all been locked up. Sean Murphy. Uh,
mhm.
I forget. It's like over the next
Spencer
6.
Strider, didn't they signed Strider too, right?
Yeah, I think over the next 6 years, we have team control over like 99% of our core. The only one that's still out there is Max Fried. And yeah, I think he signed like a 1 year extension, and
Yeah,
um, they'll have to either negotiate something during the season or he's going to end up, somewhere else. So,
yeah. And I think that is foreshadowing of the latter, right? That he might end up somewhere else. We'll see. Um, maybe they sign him, right? If he has a stellar year, I'm
yeah.
hoping that he does. The other thing that I was thinking about on those team friendly deals is maybe these players have different aspirations, right? I want to win as many championships as possible, and then I'll get my bread. It's not like they're making pennies, but I understand, like, if someone in my field is doing the exact same job as me, not doing it nearly as well, and is making 4 times the money, yeah, it's going to come to a point where I'm like, well, uh, I need to go play for them. I don't want to play for you guys anymore. But where it's different for them is there is another level of success for them. With us, I'm not eligible for, like, oh, I guess I could be, for 40 under 40, right? If I wanted to shoot for something like that, but that's not right now in my stratosphere. I'm just about that dollar, man, as far as the job's concerned. And it's a job. What he's doing is a job. There's an added benefit of winning championships, creating a legacy, going to the Hall of Fame. There's no Hall of Fame for directors of IT. So not exactly the same situation, but maybe they are of that mindset where they're like, hey, let's win as many as possible. That's what I would dream, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that can factor into it. With Ronnie specifically, the Braves are the one that brought him out of um oh, where is he from?
Venezuela.
Venezuela. They brought him out of Venezuela. They've provided him a good life, a very good work life kind of balance.
Yeah.
They've been good to him. They've won championships. Like, he's genuinely happy in the organization and with what the Braves have done for him. And then not only that, they took a gamble on him and offered him $100 million guaranteed when he was still basically a rookie. I had
Hmm.
not fully. I mean, he had.
Had like a minor injury too, right?
It was before he blew out his. It was before his
His knee.
ACL, which
Yeah.
honestly, he could have. It's more and more common these days that injuries like that do not end careers, but he could have come back from that knee surgery never the same, and they still
Hmm.
would have owed him the remaining, 80-90 million dollars.
Honestly, he didn't look the same when he came back.
He didn't.
Not at first.
No, it took him a whole year.
But we've seen where he was last year, and I think he's coming back in on that same sauce, man.
Yeah. But my point is that things can happen, and they were uh they made a risk. They made a calculated risk that Ronnie
Hmm.
was going to be what he is, the MVP, and that money, paying it up front was going to really help the franchise out in the long run. And so far that's true, and it should hold true for the next couple of years. Um,
Hmm.
Whereas like some of these players, they take short-term deals because they want to keep getting, bigger and bigger
Right.
deals.
And he could have done that. Right. He could have earned his payday by taking a shorter term. I wonder what the finances look like for his representation. Right. How much of that they got? Were they incentivized to get him more years, less money? Like were their pockets lined for that? I don't know. I just anytime there's a dollar involved, there's likely something shady happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, agents are incentivized to get the most amount of money for their clients, right? Because they're generally paid commissions. So
Hmm.
the bigger the deal, the bigger my paycheck if I'm his representation. So I do think that there is, a sense of, man, we maybe want to sign this because we don't know if there's going to be another, and we, take the money and run. But there's also we should get the
Believe in yourself.
yeah, you got to believe in yourself, but you also want the biggest offer to make everyone happy.
Have you seen King Richard?
Mm-mm.
Did I ask you about that already?
I don't think so.
So King Richard is about Venus and Serena Williams' dad, right? And their youth, him training them up, and it really focuses on before they went pro. And he made a bunch of counter decisions, countercultural decisions to the world of tennis at that time, right? Not having her play matches for I think it was like 2.5, 3 years. And she wants to compete in this professional tournament. So she goes to her first professional tournament. Representative of Nike is there, and they offer her, I think it was 1 million or $3 million, right, to sign with them. Sight unseen, hadn't seen her play, and uh, it feels like this actually transpired, but he denied it. She said no. She gets into play, right? Gets into tournament play, and in her first match, she goes down in sets, and the representative of Nike is sitting there watching, and he leaves.
Mm.
Right? She ends up winning. They come back after that win, and they offer her like 5 million. The coach is like, "Yes, we did it. What a decision, Richard. What a decision." And he's like, "No, we're not taking that either." She makes it to the finals, in which she loses to the at the time the number one ranked tennis pro in the world, the number one women's tennis pro in the world. She competes with her. They actually show like she was a bit of gamemanship. It wasn't illegal, but the player she was winning, and the player like took a 15-minute break. She just said she had to go to the bathroom and was just kind of sitting. Is what they alluded to,
Mm.
like cheating but not cheating. But she lost, and after she lost, Adidas came through with a $12 million check.
Wow.
Right. So betting on yourself is a huge thing. It is risky, right? She had 1 million or 3 million and 5 million guaranteed. That she believed that she was worth a little more than that. She kept going. I've never been in a situation like that, right?
Yeah, I
But
mean,
these athletes are in that all the time.
don't get me wrong, like that is a lot of money and it was a lot of money back then, but I do think you have to think of the scale, right? Like 1 million, 5 million versus you're staring down $100 million contract. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a much different ballpark. That is life-changing generational money. So
Right. But
I
think
think
about it, though. Think about it. Like, as talented as he was, because he had the juice. They didn't give him that because he just showed potential. They was like, oh no, this kid is the real deal. He's the next Griffey. And we see now that he did that, right? He's far exceeded that. If we look at that contract and compare other contracts to it from that time period, they're calling it friendly for a reason. Even around that time, the deals were getting signed, right? Maybe he takes a 2 year deal for that equal annual salary. Like you do 10, you do two for 24 or 26 or whatever it was, just so that you do get those 2 years to prove it. And now instead of getting a 10 year or an 8 year 100 million, you get not quite like a Garrett Cole, but you get a Jose Altuve contract, right? Where you're making 20 million, 25 million a year as opposed to that 13.
but you also got to understand at the time he was a rookie still under team control for another 2 years, so like they didn't have to pay
Mm-hmm.
him at all. They could have
Yeah.
they could have, you know, used up all the gas in those 2 years and he would be making nothing, or he could sign and be guaranteed $100 million today. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. No,
sorry,
I
I'm
mean
taking
it's an
that deal.
interesting situation, right?
I'm taking that deal. If I'm in Ronnie's shoes, I'm taking that deal and I'm happy about it as well. Now,
It's hard to be upset about $100 million.
yeah.
Right.
Have you seen the contract breakdown of Shohei Ohtani?
But it's weird.
It's very strange. So he has a 10-year deal
Mm-hmm.
worth
500 mil.
essentially
Or,
500 million. Let's call it 500. His first 10 years, he'll make $2 million a year. And then the 10 years after, so he's no longer on contract, they'll pay out the remaining, $490 million to him over those 10 years. So essentially he could retire and he would be collecting a 66 million or $60 million check every year, I think is what the math actually adds out to. But what it did was it made the Dodgers able to stay under some of those luxury tax thresholds because the amount that's hitting their salary cap isn't
it's 2 million.
yeah, exactly. Which is really kind of if you want to be mad about some contract situations, be mad at that. Like you can look at the total dollar value and say, okay, well, he's going to get his in the long run, but he's
When you're another team competing against that specifically, right? That doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem like it's within the rules.
it is fully within the rules, but it violates the spirit of the rule. So they allow players to defer salary. I mean, Freddie's been doing it. I think it's smart. Like every year, July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day. He gets $1 million from the Mets because he deferred, which is smart financially, right? Because once you retire, you're still guaranteed that money. You have a income coming in, and a good income at that. So it's good for the players to be able to defer part of their contract. What I don't think it was intended to do was to create the situation where they use it in order to skirt the luxury tax limits. So,
which that's the part that I'm saying from an organizational standpoint is wild that would be allowed, right? Because obviously the Dodgers they have, as far as a franchise is concerned, they have one of the highest net worths in American sports. The Braves do not, right? The Dodgers can afford to put. I'm imagining that they're just going to play. He's not playing anymore at that point. They have to be coming out of pocket for that, right? Out of the Dodgers' pocket, not even like the allocated player funds.
Yeah, and if you think about it from a business standpoint, especially what history has told us, these franchises appreciate in value, their revenues go up. So that $460 million or whatever it is that is deferred, to them, it's actually value. The net present dollar value is less than what it would be today because the value of the franchise is going to be up. Inflation is going to drive that dollar value, like the actual value of that dollar, down. So, for them to pay it out of pocket over 10 years, 11 to 20 years from now, it's going to cost the franchise less than it would
than
today.
The number shows now. Yeah.
Right. So it's just a game. It's a financial game, and
they're winning.
Yeah. It definitely cheapens the sport a little bit in my eyes that, you have teams like really the Dodgers and the Yankees are the only markets that can really do that.
Right.
They're the number one and number two market in the sport. It's crazy because the Braves, I mean, we're definitely up there in value,
in most sports,
but we're definitely still viewed as like a middle tier market, and we pay like our payroll, almost says as much. We are in the top upper 10% in salary, so we're not paupers out there. We're not paying peanuts. We have a pretty loaded salary.
We don't, compared to the players that we have. That's why all that team friendly deal stuff is big news, right? Because they could afford to pay more for the players that we have, for the statistics that they put up last year. That salary, that number should be a lot higher. It's not that it should be; it could be a lot higher.
It could be, but it's also why you saw players like Dansby Swanson, who were former number one picks, that are viewed as the top three at their position, leave to go somewhere else. And honestly, he was willing to take less money to stay in Atlanta, but it just didn't work out.
No.
I mean, we let go of Freddie Freeman for a similar. It was all about the money.
He left. We didn't let him go.
We let him walk.
Again. Nah, he left. He chose to leave. And he blamed it on his representation. I ain't trying to hear that. Freddie didn't want to be here no more.
I mean,
that's cool. He missed home.
At the end of the day, we wanted him here. He was dragging his feet. Alex Anthopoulos said, I got to make a decision, and we made one, right?
Mm-hmm.
We chose to move on because we didn't feel confident that Freddie was going to come back. And honestly, Matt Olson and what he did last year, can't be mad at it. He's from Gwinnett, Parkview grad. I'm happy he's here. He's want to be here. Do I love Freddie Freeman? Do I miss him? Sure. But I think to replace him with Matt Olson, like it definitely made that a palatable transition. And I'm ready. I've moved on.
Yeah, I have too. Freddie who, man? All these
Yeah.
tears when that man came back to the park for the first time. I'm not crying for you, bro. You
Yeah.
left. I wish you well, but we're done.
Yeah. I love the our favorite radio stations reactions to when players return. It's like, okay, when they first come back and it's the first night, yeah, like standing ovation, like give them their due. But after that, it's the boo birds. Give them the boo
Yeah,
birds.
man.
None of
You don't
these.
play for this team anymore. You're the opponent. You're an op.
Yeah,
You're an op now. Get out of here, man.
we
I'm not cheering for you.
we don't get these 3-night standing ovations and same thing every time they return. Like, get out of here.
I actually jacked up my Julio Jones jersey. I don't remember who he was with at the time, but he was coming back to the building. Maybe it was the Titans. And I did it with tape because I really didn't want to damage my jersey. But I like changed the U or the J and Julio into like a U and put like a T, like Tulio. Or
Yeah.
Tuones. That's what it was. I added a T to Jones, made it a U,
Yeah.
Tuones. Julio who, man, he don't play for me no more.
Yeah. So kind of in that same topic, I was, in college we would work, I think I've mentioned this to you before, we'd work security at sporting events to raise money so we could keep our fraternity dues down. And so one of the games I got to work at the Georgia Dome was Michael Vick's return to the Dome when he was playing for the Eagles.
The Eagle.
And that game I got to stand on the field. I was standing at like the end zone at the goal line.
That's fire.
Yeah, back turned to the game, which kind of sucked. But at the same time, just being there on the field, the atmosphere and the cheers for Michael Vick were insane. I mean, you go to a lot of Falcons games anyways, and the away teams generally bring a decent crowd, but it was something different that day. The Atlanta fan base, when they have a beloved star, they're loyal, almost to a fault, right?
I mean, and that was like it was even bigger than that because it was a redemption story, right? My man had been in jail for 2 years, and he got out and he made it. No one thought he was going to make it back into the league, and to make it back and have success. He had some fire years in Philly. It just speaks to who he was as a player, and I think people wanted to celebrate that.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of you get 2 ovations instead of the one because of the struggle that you had to go through to get back here. I'll give him that for sure.
Yeah, but I also think, and we've talked about it, I think in length, the city of Atlanta, the fan base absolutely loved Michael Vick. I mean, he was a hero to many before all the dogfighting allegations and that whole thing went down. And I think many were just happy to see him back in the state, playing the game, doing the things that they were cheering for on Sundays, making all the plays. So
Vick was a man of the people, right? I've been at the club before and Vick was there, and it was a scene, right? Like the club, the nightclub, not the club in the in the bins or anything like that. He was out and about. People love a star that they can interact with. That's friendly with them, that like some of the same things they do. You got some stars where that's not at all the situation, right? They are isolated. They leave the court or the field or the diamond, and they go into their little bubble, and you never see them.
yeah,
Matt Ryan I think he hit that level of belovedness. I saw Matt Ryan at Chipotle one time, man. Seen him in line, and I don't know if there's. I think it was more so people didn't want to bother him. I don't have no coof. So I saw him. I said, Maddie, I took a picture with that man and everything. It's up on Instagram to this day.
Do you
But as I'm leaving, I just see people just flocking to him. I was like, damn, I ruined this day. I do that with celebrities in Atlanta all the time.
do you remember this story? I think you were there with us because we always rolled together in high school. But being up at Gwinnett Place Mall, one of the places we frequented, and Michael Vick and his posse were there in like the food
Yeah.
court, and you couldn't get near him. He was untouchable, man.
He was, but he ate, burro pizza. He was eating Chinese food. Like, man, that's the Chinese food I eat. It's just another level of connection. I can't run as fast as Vic, but if we eat the same Chinese food, oh man, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Right? Me and Matt Ryan both love Chipotle. Other person I actually saw him like in October of last year. I was out with the company, and we ended up going to this bar after our meeting, and I saw CeeLo Green, right, sitting there just chilling with his friends, having a normal night out. I said, "Oh man, I'm on my way to the bathroom. I'm a little saucy at this point, but I said, oh damn, that's CeeLo Green." And I walk over to him like, "Oh, CeeLo, man, what's up, dog? I love your music, man. Keep up the good work." And then I walk off. And I'm coming back from the bathroom, and it's like 15 people have now surrounded CeeLo Green. I'm like, damn. All I wanted to do was say hello. I wasn't bothering him. I didn't stay long. And he didn't seem to mind it at all. But I'm sure that after effect, he's like, damn, man, I can't go nowhere. But he has to get that all the time, right?
Yeah.
Celebrities do, athletes do. When I appreciate what somebody does, man, I want to tell them. Saw Usher at the Container Store one time, our favorite, USHER, walked up to him. Everybody was scared, but they knew. I had coworkers coming back to the back like, "You're not gonna believe this. Usher's in Shelby." I'll be right back. Had to go see my dude, man. No way I was gonna miss that out. He hit that celebrity mode a little bit. He's on the pool. Shook my hand, kept it pushing.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand people want to live their lives and they don't want to necessarily be hassled, but it's par for the course when you're in entertainment and you're a celebrity like that. You're nothing without the fan base, so no matter how you feel that day, you got to at least, in my opinion, make an effort to show up for your fans and be personable, be real.
100%. Yeah.
But so I want to circle back around to Michael Vick. I saw a very interesting side-by-side comparison. So it was Michael Vick's first 4 years with the Falcons, which year one he didn't start. He sat.
Right.
So essentially 3 years of starting.
Those were the days.
Yeah. So his first 3 years, side-by-side comparison to the first 3 years of Justin Fields' career. And their numbers are astoundingly similar. Like,
really?
Yeah. Yards, touchdowns, interceptions, rush yards, they're all extremely close.
I was going to ask you that. Rush yards too?
Yeah. I think, oh man, I don't want to misquote the exact number, but they were within like 50 yards of one another.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah, I think the attempts were different, but the total output, I think the yards per attempt, Michael Vick had like 1 or 2 yards per attempt more than Justin, but Justin had a yard more per attempt for passing, had more passing touchdowns. He also had a couple more interceptions, but like we're all
by and large.
Yeah, we're talking about within like 2 to 3% on every metric, which I was not aware of, and it kind of made me raise an eyebrow. Like, okay, like Michael Vick.
I wasn't aware of that.
Definitely got better as his career went on and his numbers improved. But, he was still a Pro Bowler, going to the NFC division championship and stuff in those years. I don't know if we went to a division championship, but we were still in the playoffs, at least one of those years. So, I was taken aback by looking at the statistics, and it was like, all right, well, what if we decide to go with Justin? Like, I think that might actually be a pretty solid decision.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I didn't know that at all. That was a complete shocker to me. A lot of times we share things before. I'm glad you held that one because I did not know that. That's fire. And there's another comparison that I wanted to do that's outside of those two are their not special teams. What am I trying to say? Their skill positions. Vick's first couple years in the league, he was throwing to the likes of Michael Jenkins, right?
Peerless
Algie
Price.
Crumpler, Peerless Price. I remember Peerless Price he might have been the number one receiver that year that Vick was on the cover of Madden.
Yeah.
Right. Justin Fields has been thrown to some bums outside of last year because DJ Moore got the juice. But he improved his passing. Yeah.
Brian Finneran.
Right? But then he started to get he got Roddy for a little bit. Did he have work done and he had some pass catching halfbacks. I think
he had
work. It was Vick and Dunn.
Yeah, he had work done and my boy TJ Duckett.
Big Duckett, but Duckett had bricks fast. He wasn't catching no rocks.
But Algie, man,
but that's his skill possession. His first, I would say more than 1 year. His first 2 years with Vick, man, it just looked like when used to the velocity that ball had, and he was dropping a lot of balls. That's statistically proven. As far as that first year together, Algie was dropping the ball left and right, but everyone was. He just threw the ball so hard. That was one of his things. I say that to say Justin Fields comes in here, he's already getting that upgraded skills position. It's an overhaul based on what he has now. It's a complete upgrade, DJ Moore included. Maybe he hits that same trajectory, man, takes us in. And I could even see it being the situation of like beating the Packers again. I know the Packers have lost in Green Bay a bunch of times since Vick did it, but I think they're up and coming. I do think that's the team that we're going to probably end up running into once we elevate ourselves back to the playoffs and eventually to contention for a chip. Is the Packers, but I'm for it. Bring Justin Fields on in, especially after you drop that comparison, those statistics being the same, because I think Vick had a upward trajectory his entire career. We've seen Justin Fields get better, and without a whole lot of support, right?
Right. So you brought up Michael Vick supporting cast, right? And Justin went on a podcast with another NFC North upstart team.
Mm-hmm.
It's run by one of their stars, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and his brother. And so he was kind of asked about the situation where, he hears the rumors, he knows the Bears situation with the number one pick. And so a little bit of controversy. He had gone earlier this week, I guess, and unfollowed the Bears organization on Twitter. And, that's always going to stir some, rumors.
It's a breakup.
Yeah. So he was asked flat out about, what that was about. And his response was, I'm going on vacation. I want to turn that off so I'm not getting all these notifications, right? I just want to. He's like, I also unfollowed the NFL. Like, I just don't want to see all these notifications while I'm, on vacation. I want to be away from it. So he kind of tried to dismiss that. Yeah,
political answer. I understand it.
But he also said, I just want to know if I'm going to be here or if I'm not. Just let me know. He's like, I like being in Chicago. I like it here. The city's fire. The fans are fire. But I just want to know. I'm either going to stay or I'm going to go. Just let me know. And then he was asked specifically about the Falcons, being from the state of Georgia, being rumored to, in a lot of places, to go the Falcons. Earlier this week, Vegas increased the odds that Justin lands in Atlanta. I don't know what they know, but we can talk about it. But his response was, they have a solid team. They've got some pieces. Bijan, of course. Drake London, of course. Kyle Pitts. And then he went on to say, but I think they need another receiver. And then he said, and their defense played pretty well last year. But what I thought was interesting about that statement was he was already saying, yeah, I mean, they got some nice pieces, but they still need another wide receiver. Now, I don't think he's wrong, but coming from what you were saying about Chicago's, talent situation and the talent pool that Michael Vick played around, I would say he's coming into a much better situation than what Vick was doing. So, I just want your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I he's not wrong. I do agree. We need another wide receiver. Maybe he's making a play to tell him, like, hey, you want me there, get one more, and I'm coming. Right, I'm gonna be in the building. Because Mac Hollins ain't doing it, right? Right. There was someone who is a free agent right now that I was like, oh yeah, the Falcons should sign him. Oh, Mike Evans.
Yeah,
That would be crazy. And I don't know what we had to pay for him. I think if they franchise tag him, it would be, I think it's like 21 million a year. So we would need to give him more than that for him to leave. But you add Mac Evans to this group and Justin Fields. Super Bowl or bust, baby. We gotta not that far, but it should be. And I said the same thing last year. Should be at least playoffs. Yeah. This year, man, I think I'm gonna temper my expectations. I think I'm gonna take the other side of the coin. I'm a serial optimist when it comes to the Falcons. Like once free agency starts rolling, I can start to turn the gears. Like, yeah, I'm back behind it. 10 wins, 11 wins. I like every move. Not gonna be that guy this year, man. I'm gonna turn into a negative Nancy, like the rest of the fan base, and I think if I am negative, maybe they pay attention. Like, damn, our guy Marcus, man, he's so upset with us. We gotta do better. We gotta give him what he's looking for.
I don't think you can go that far
this season.
I don't think you can take it that far. I think you gotta take a stance of realist.
No
not,
such thing.
Not like you're hopeful instead of optimistic, but you're real and your expectations are, they are what they are, middle of the road. That's what the Falcons have been. Actually, they've been bottom.
We shouldn't have been middle. Yeah, we were bottom. We shouldn't have been middle of the road last year. Oh man, that team. Who, if Justin doesn't come, maybe we're running it back. I heard more news about Zach Robinson glowing about D Riddy being in the city.
So. Well, we'll yeah. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what they decide there. But on the wide receiver side, I also did hear a conversation with Zach Robinson basically saying that in order to be successful as an offense, you have to have the threat of going over the top. You always have to have the defense focused on the fact that you could take them over the top, which
on their heels a bit.
Yeah, we don't have that player. We don't like Drake London. He's a great receiver, but he's not a burn the DB type of receiver. Yeah. He's more of a go up and get it possession receiver. He's not a yak guy. So they definitely got to find that piece. And so I do agree that we are a wide receiver away, but very specifically, we need that number one burner, ideally lengthy and tall, not just speed. We don't need another Turbo Taylor. We just need a true number
Big,
one.
put big in front of Gabe's name, man, because he has some solid plays and some solid years for us, and he was more swift than fast, right? He was quick.
Yeah.
I think Hollywood Brown is a free agent as well.
So that was the
He
name
might
that
be a
I
nice
heard.
fit. Yeah.
So that was the free agent that I heard people say, like, the Falcons should take a flyer on Hollywood Brown. He fits the kind of
Mm-hmm.
model that they're looking for that, number one speedy receiver. So I do think it's interesting that the Vegas odds drastically improved for the Falcons landing Justin Fields, because that typically means Vegas knows something. They're no dummies. Like, the house is stacked to win. So what is it that they know that we don't know that is tipping the odds in that favor? Is it the public perception that they're trying to capitalize on, or is there some real insider information? Because now I think the odds were negative 110. So basically, it's less than a 1-to-1 output. So
that's the current odds.
Yeah. So
negative 110. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't make that bet to make a whole lot of money. Like, it's got to be a sure thing, right? You do that just to multiply your dollars, but you're not, you stand to lose a lot more than you stand to gain. So
you do, right? I don't necessarily believe where there's smoke, there's fire when it comes to Vegas, right? They are the market manipulator when it comes to gambling, right? So they're selling the news. They were wrong about Belichick. He had the best odds, and he doesn't even have a job, right? So
yeah, but you got to understand they're playing probabilities, right? Like, I'm an analyst. I'm a statistics guy. Like, I'm a numbers driven guy. So just understanding that Vegas is the best at, like, they understand the odds, the probabilities, how the numbers play out. Their predictive models are right more than they're wrong, right? They know what they're doing.
But that's based on the money, though, right? Like the incoming money changes the odds. So because you can bet on anything, presidential elections. So I think it is more so the will of the people that would control
both.
that more than, it is definitely both, right? But the people have to actually bet. You have the odds makers, but they're making those odds based on bets that have already been received.
Well, they set the odds where they believe that they'll win, right? And as the money comes in, they shift that line to tip the odds in their favor that they won't lose big, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if everyone's betting on the Chiefs, right, they're going to shrink the money output on the Chiefs to de-incentivize more people betting on the Chiefs, right? Because they want to make sure
people want the bigger payout.
Yeah, and they Vegas can't stay in business if everyone's a winner. So
it's got to be losers, and there's plenty. New on board every day. That's what they say.
Yeah,
sucker, loser. When it comes to gambling, those can be one and the same. Let's finish on the Hawks, man. What do you just had the All-Star break? Let's focus Hawks Center, and then we can give our takes on the All-Star game overall, because there's news on that as well. It was not highly liked, but we had a player there, Trae Young, featured. He wasn't a starter, which, shame on them, but he did get into the reserve role. he could have been an asshole and said, "Hey, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not going. Y'all should have put me in there first," and he didn't. And his reason behind that was that he was representing the city of Atlanta. I think he went out there and he represented well. He almost won the 3-point contest. Was 2 points away, right, from tying. He would have needed three to win, but so he finished second place there. In the skills challenge, which I thought was much improved. I thought the three different events that they had, I thought that was pretty cool what they did. You talked about the court being an LED court and being able to change things. That was actually pretty dope as well. But Trae Young represented in the skills position. To me, he showcased that he's the best passer in the league. Right, he looked a lot better to me in passing than Tyrese Halliburton did, who's getting all the shine right now because he doesn't play in Atlanta. I think he did well there. And then I had to go back and find the highlight, but you text me during the game like Trey just hit that nutmeg on KD. I was like, yes, sir, bring it out. You won't be allowed back next year, but it's worth it. Do it on the big stage, brother. What did you think he represented well?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% spot on in your take. I thought the LED floor was really cool. I did hear a few comments by the commentators that basically they're not quite ready to roll that type of technology out to like a game.
League wide. Yeah.
No, to like just to a game type atmosphere. But even the thought that could be where it's headed is pretty exciting. I think it would definitely add a level of entertainment to the game. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. And then, like you said, I thought Trey did very well. Their half court shot was awful.
Yeah, they were trying to shoot on top of each other. They should have just taken turns. They could have won it.
I do think there was a little bit of home cooking working in the 100%. Team Indiana Pacers favor. But I was proud of Trey, the way he handled himself, the way he competed. He did well in all the events, minus that half-court shot. The 3-point competition.
That was atrocious. Yeah.
I thought he was going to get it. For a minute, I thought he was going to get it. I think he missed some opportunities. I don't know what they call that ball, the starry ball, or the green.
The deeper shot.
Yeah, he didn't hit a single one of them.
And he usually knocked down a deep shot. So yeah, that would have won it for him. Knocking down one of those.
So I was proud of him, man.
Sorry.
And then in the game, when they're scoring 200 something points, like it's hard to take any of that seriously. In terms of competition level, I did see some very interesting comments about his just judging Trey on his body language and his presence on the court. He did seem very passive, right? Like he didn't really interject himself a whole lot. He wasn't, checking up half court shots like Dame, and he wasn't commanding the type of ball control. And it does make you wonder, like he does, his default mode is true point guard, facilitator. Man, he threw a half court alley-oop dime. I actually think it was more like 3/4 court dime. And so like you mentioned he showcased better passing ability in the skills competition. I think that's his game, and it just makes you think that if you could really build a team around Trey where he's not necessarily, he doesn't need to be the offensive scoring production, but the true facilitator who can also threaten you deep, right? If he could legitimately play that role, the Hawks or whatever team he's on would be a force. But I think the front office has screwed that up so bad. To get into more Hawk general discussion, when you look at the Travis Schlink, Tony Wrestler situation, it makes me sick to think that we ran him out of town because he had a vision for the team, build the Golden State East, and the owner's son wanted to overpay for DeJounte. And like you and I have both said, we both like DeJounte, but there's no denying that
Great player.
we overpaid for him and it hasn't worked out. And we ran Travis Schlink out of town. And now we got Landry Fields, who, frankly, I don't know if he knows what the heck he's doing.
Or if he's even running the show. It may be the young wrestler.
Yeah.
All right.
So I've seen a lot of public outcry calling for him to sell the team, and frankly, at this point, I'm like, please. I really was excited because of the ownership group we had prior, and I'm not a huge fan of these corporations that own sports franchises because most time, they're in it for the wrong reasons, and that's not the fans. And if you look at the Hawks attendance numbers this year, they're like in the bottom of the league. Their record's not great. And I think it all falls back on the ownership who have made these decisions that have fired, GMs or forced GMs out and put, puppets in place to do their bidding, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know how to build a team, and I hope it doesn't run Trey out of town. I
hope so too. He was asked about that in the All-Star game. If he had heard all the trade talk, and he's like, yeah, of course I hear it, right, but I don't pay any attention to it. Said a lot of the greats have been moved. They all the greats get traded, and he's right there. Right, they started to go down the list. It's literally Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. The one that they didn't say was Dirk Nowitzki.
But Kobe got traded on draft night.
Yeah, but he's a Laker for life, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't.
D-Wade kind of jacked it up with his little run to Cleveland, but I still say he's kind of within that. But literally everyone else got played for multiple teams. LeBron, Iverson, I almost said Kobe, Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins.
Shaq.
It's up and down. Charles Barkley, Shaq, right? Steve Nash. All these great players have moved. And they made the point that they don't think that Trey will be here his entire career. And that's probably right. But I hope that that's like after a championship or several, and he's just going to get that last check, but he'll return home so we can pay him that homage, right? But that he said that the greats get traded, but he's in Atlanta. He has a job to do here, and he still has aspirations of bringing a championship to Atlanta. So I like to hear that. Right? It was the end. It was you only really can give certain answers when these questions come up, unless you're Anthony Rendon, right? You keep it all the way 100. But for the most part, you're going to give the the politically correct answer just because it's a business, it's a job. So he gave the right one. I hope he's here for a long time. I do hope. I'm with you. If they want to get rid of the ownership, I'm down. Get rid of Landry Fields, I'm down. I want to keep Trey. I'd like to hold on to a coach for more than a year. That's not a great way to establish a sound foundation of what you're trying to accomplish to change a head coach every year, because every coach is going to come in and try to put their own stamp on things. But yeah, we'll see where they end up.
It's just funny to me because I look at this and I'm like, who am I? I'm nobody. Surely these professionals can deduce the same things an average Joe can from the sideline. But you fired Lloyd Pierce and you got a little bit of a bump by Nate in that season. But by and large, all these coaching changes have netted you nothing. Like your return has been nothing. So like at what point do you say, okay, maybe it's not the freaking coach. Maybe it's the fact that we, haven't assembled a comparable roster to compete in this league. Like, or the, decisions that we've made, around talent, not coaching. And that's the thing that just blows my mind is, everybody wants to put point blame at coaches, like, they're gonna be the savior in this game, and it's a talent driven game. And if you don't have the
You can
right
only do it. Exactly. Yeah.
if you don't have the right talent, it doesn't matter who you have coaching them. You could have Greg Popovich or the all time greats coaching and still not win anything.
Spurs are trash right now, right? Like he's
Yeah.
still coaching. They got the number 1 overall pick. Wemby is balling, and they still suck. So you definitely need the personnel. If you don't have the players, you can't win games. We got one. One is not enough. Two at this point really isn't enough. You need three, not a big three, but at least three solid contributors in some aspect of the game. I was talking to Dion earlier about what would fix the Hawks, and I was like, we talked about it a little bit, just a big that can do it on both ends. And I don't know that there's anyone in the draft that's going to fit that need. The players that I think do fit that need are few and far in between, right? Joel Embiid, Joker, Wemby,
Yeah.
Chet Holmgren, Zion Williamson. That's it. So it's going to be tough. I don't know what they do. I don't have suggestions for them, or I call them and tell them. But what they're doing is not working. You can't keep running the same product out onto the floor, right?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised that they chose to do absolutely nothing at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Not moving DeJounte, I can kind of understand, but to do nothing, like
Mhm.
not even another piece anywhere on the floor, is just kind of baffling.
One thing that's coaching related that I don't understand right now is the rotation, right? There's a player that I'm a fan of, Adrian Griffin, and that man is just riding pine right now. He literally does not get any play, not even in garbage time. They're putting in super old guys, or no disrespect, like all NBA players are great basketball players. They wouldn't be there if they weren't. But like Bruno Fernando, not to say that Adrian Griffin could play that backup center role. I don't think he can, but he's getting minutes. Patty Mills, the Australian blur. This man is getting hella run, and you have a youth that you could be developing. The knock is that he doesn't play defense. Well, we're the worst defensive unit in the league. How much worse could it get? Right? Play him, because I think what he could learn in real game action, and what we've seen his rookie year, he was knocking down game winners. He did that multiple times. Um, my man can score. He can score at a high clip.
And I see it from a slightly different angle, but with the same general, thought processes. If you're not going to play him, at least move him for someone that you
Trade him.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if he doesn't
Save money, build some money up for free agency, something.
yeah, if he doesn't fit into your rotation and what you're looking for because he doesn't play defense, then trade him for someone that does, because the team that you're playing right now, the rotations that you're playing right now, they're not working.
They are not working.
Yeah, so
Now they before the All-Star break, I think they might have been like 4-2, but they lost some bad games. They lost a game to Charlotte
they always
without
do.
LaMelo Ball. Yeah, I don't know what Charlotte has up their sleeves, man. It's kind of wild. They've been an inferior team to the Hawks
For the
for
last
as long as I can remember.
3 to
Right?
4
Since Trae
years.
Young got here, at least. Well, no, even longer than that, because you got to think. Like, since they've been back in Charlotte, they've been an inferior team.
Right, but the
Because,
last 3 to 4 years, they've been
yeah,
like bottom worst or second worst in the league, and yet they'll take the series against Atlanta.
like 3-1,
Yeah.
or 4-0. They might sweep us. It's disgusting.
It's almost the Falcon esque, record against terrible teams, right? We just
Yeah, when we're supposed to win it the most, when it's supposed to be that easy game, we always
yeah.
found a way to blow it. The Hawks definitely had that with the Hornets and other sorry teams. The other loss that I'm thinking of, it wasn't a quality. It wasn't a quality team. It wasn't like a Detroit like bottom of the barrel, but they weren't a good team that we lost to. I can't think of who it was, but yeah, you got to win the games you're supposed to win, and that's just another. I don't know who that's a knock on. It's definitely a knock on the GM and ownership because the personnel isn't there. But when you're playing a sorrier team, I think that blame shifts a little bit downstream to the coaches and the players. Players got to have some level of,
Pride.
yeah, don't lose to the Hornets.
Yeah. I mean, there was that season following, our Eastern Conference Finals run where I definitely think there was an aspect of the team just they couldn't get themselves amped up for regular season games after making a deep playoff
Yeah,
runs. They were just uninterested, but you can't get there without going through the regular season, and there's got to be a bit of professionalism, and you got to win the ones you're supposed to win. You got to take care of business, or you'll not get an opportunity
yeah,
to do better. And that's just we've been on a downward trajectory basically since that Eastern Conference Finals appearance.
yeah, 100%. I agree.
So we are approaching a hour and a half mark. So I just want to wrap it up, and then I want to leave y'all with something I learned today. Random fact. So just give me your final take on the Hawks and the All-Star game, and kind of what you're
um,
seeing the rest of the year.
the All-Star game, I ended up turning it off and watching the movie, and it's nothing crazy. I've been out of the All-Star game for a little bit now. Um, I still like the Saturday night showcase, so that was still cool for me. Big up Mac McClung, little guys, white guys doing it for the for the people.
His vert is insane.
It's nuts. It's nuts. I don't know how they fix that. I think the Hawks. I don't know how they fix that either. Um, I'm gonna be a fan. So if they
Yeah,
want me to start spending money, they need to put a better product on the floor.
for real. I couldn't tell you the last time I went to a Hawks game in person. It was probably 2011.
Mm,
So it's been a hot minute.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, on the All-Star game, I did see, one of those bench cut, um, what is it? Start, bench, and cut. And
Mm,
the samples were the MLB All-Star game, the NFL, and the NBA. And I feel like there's only one proper answer to this, and it's start the MLB All-Star game, bench the NBA All-Star game, and cut the NFL. I mean, at least the NBA still has Saturday night. I enjoy watching like the celebrity game and even the rising.
mm-hmm.
I like the new format of the Rising Stars Challenge where it's like a tournament and it's got
Mm,
a a score that you got to hit in order to win, kind of like playing 21 back in the day.
yeah.
Um, and
It was weird they took the Kobe fourth quarter out. I didn't know that they were gonna do that.
yeah, it's kind of sad. I really liked that Kobe format that they did.
You know what? I think I did hear about that. That it was because they were up so big. Maybe that's what it was. The East was up by like 21 points going into the fourth. So maybe that was a concession that was made so that they didn't finish the game in like a minute and a half.
Yeah, I feel like hitting 200 points is absolutely nuts.
That's crazy. But compared to the regular season offense, is part of the course.
Yeah, but that's still like a good 40 point, 50 point, uh, increase on some of these ridiculous regular season scores.
The Hawks scored 140 points in back-to-back games and lost both of them.
Yeah,
this season.
but that's
The average was like, I mean, I remember, and maybe I'm dating myself a little bit, dating both of us, Mr. 35. Like scores were like 92 to 98, right? You weren't even breaking triple digits every night. And they blew by that, but it was still like low triple digits. It was under 110 for the most part. Now it's just been this explosion. We talked about all the 70-point games and 50-point games and 60-point games, but teams overall, I mean, the Hawks are still top 5 in offense because of the amount of points they score a game. I don't know what it is. It's a lot of rules that incentivize uh, points being scored as opposed to defense being played. So maybe they can make adjustments to bring that back to earth a little bit. But
I mean, I think it's entertaining to watch these guys go out and shoot up, half court shots and just basically play backyard basketball without defense. I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I mean, maybe to the extreme it is. I do think when they added some different rules like having a captain draft their team instead of it being East-West, and the winners of each quarters going to charity, like all of that to me added a lot of value to the All-Star game
I agree.
that they should not have stopped. That's just my opinion.
Okay. We'll have to talk Pro Bowl next week, man, because I don't want to start a new segment, right? But
Yeah.
I have some thoughts on that, man. So let's close it out for the people, man.
All right, so
Let's get them subscribers up, baby. Like, subscribe, comment. Let's get to 20 this week. We can do it.
So I just wanted to this random fact I came across earlier tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So I was today years old when I learned that C.J. Stroud's real name is Coleridge Bernard Stroud the Fourth.
What?
His name is Coleridge
Bernard
Stroud the Fourth.
There's 4 Coleridges.
Coleridge Bernard, aka CJ. I want to know where they get the J out of that, but the C,
Junior. That's always how that works.
But that's like,
I know a DJ. He's Doug Zell Jr. There's a CJ Charles. Not to just drop everybody's government. Charles Johnson Jr.
But when
the J usually comes from even my father-in-law is they call him JB, which is kind of different. Brittany's uncle, he's a junior as well. Both of them are juniors, and they called him Junebug, right? Because he's junior.
Yeah.
Not necessarily HJ, but
yeah.
No, that's common. That's where that J comes from, is the junior.
Even when you're the the third or the fourth or the fifth, because at that point you're not really a junior, right?
You're not technically a J, but
you're a junior.
Junior.
But yeah, I was kind of shocked when I saw his government name was Coleridge Bernard Stroud the Fourth.
Coleridge.
I never would have.
COOLRIDGE.
COLERIDGE.
Oh wow, Coleridge.
Very proper. But yeah.
He's got royal blood.
Yeah, well, we'll be looking for our version of CJ Stroud this year for the Falcons, because he and what the Houston Texans were able to do this year was no small feat, and I was rooting for him. I like an underdog story. So,
yeah.
But with that, we can close this puppy out. Appreciate everyone listening.
Yeah.
Like my boy said, like, subscribe. Please comment. We'd love to hear some opinions. Love to get some constructive feedback. We want to make this about what the people want, so it's hard to give y'all what you want without hearing from you directly. So
until then, we're going to talk about whatever we want.
Yes, sir. We'll just keep doing what we do all the way to the moon.
All the way to the moon, baby.
Yeah.
All right, big dog.
All
I'll
right,
holler
man.
at you next time.
Signing out.